Hello, Neil from Diagonal Move here, taking a look at what's inside the box of Thunder Rally, a GMT Games racing game designed by Jeff and Carla Horger. It's stock car racing over a number of different tracks in America and a couple in Europe. The game is pre-owned, so I don't actually know what printing this is, but it's in such good condition I thought I'd do an overview of what's in the box anyway, just to give people an idea of what you get when you get a copy of this game. The game itself is basically stock car racing, and you race around the track playing cards to determine how fast and how far your cars go. The game itself is recommended for age 14, 2 to 7 players, an hour to an hour and a half playtime, medium complexity, and comes with a whole bunch of stuff that we'll have a look at now. Typical, very sturdy GMT box to hold it all in as well. Okay, so we have the components are out on the table. Obviously they are not in their original packets because it's a pre-owned game, but we'll have a look at the rulebook. We have some cards, two different types of cards, some event cards and racing card deck cards. There's a range of tokens. I've pulled some of them out here onto this little board here. You have racing cars, position markers, and these other tokens which are in two different sizes. Some of them are larger than others, determining damage you've received during the race or wear and tear on your car as it's gone around the track. These smaller tokens being temporary damage of different types, and there's a whole bunch of them in that pile of plastic bags there. The others being more serious, permanent damage. And as I sort of alluded to, there are lots and lots of different tokens, and I probably won't look at all of those different tokens, but just give you a sense of what they look like on the board just here. But what you do have rather nicely is these double-sided racing car tokens. I've got a pink one and a purple one there. They flip them over to show whether they've been activated or not, and they come in 7 different colours, as I mentioned. The player aids here are in those 7 different colours, and these show you the racing car team that you're controlling, because it's not a case of having one car crossing the finishing line first. You do need to position well for the entire team, or at least that's my understanding. And it will show you the level of damage, whether you're leading during a particular lap or have led during a particular lap, and what the damage are and so on. And there's all these different colours. These nice sort of sturdy things, one-sided, but you probably don't need double-sided cards in a game like this. And as you can see, they're pretty solid, nice, easy to read. Player aids or player tracks, and we do have Howitzer Racing there, which I thought was quite amusing. Okay, we have also, in addition, 2 double-sided mounted boards, which I'll look at in more detail in a moment. They do have an errata on them, so as I said, I don't know what printing this is or whether that's been fixed or not over the course of the years, because this game is now quite old. I think it's 2014, it says on that box, in terms of when it was first released. So there's an error on the table on the mounted boards, but we'll get to that in just a moment. Before I disappear and have a look at the boards in more detail, let's have a look at the rules. It's a reasonably standard GMT rulebook, 16 pages in total, including the front cover and the index. And we have, so we have some printouts there, which presumably the former owner printed out, some turn sequences and the like, which I'll probably have a look at separately in my own time. You wouldn't normally get that, I would imagine, but we do have in the rulebook, typical 2-column GMT rulebook, fair bit of colour and so on, sequence of play, turn overviews, important concepts, lapping, pit stops, race cards, movement, all the different types of movements, solo movement, drafting movement, pursuit movement, lead movement, lateral displacement, lots and lots of movement types in this game, drafting in corners, and then the wear and tear and event cards, and then some information about pit stops and restarts. Playing it as a season, which I thought was quite interesting. You can link the games together into a racing season, and then some optional rules. And that's pretty much it really, because the last few few pages are all about the lists of cards, clarifications that you may need for the cards themselves. And then finally a couple of examples and a glossary. So yeah, that is a pretty simple, in GMT terms, rulebook, which is quite nice to see. And a note from the designer here at the bottom of the page, just off screen, saying the game is intended to be quick and easy once the basic concepts are mastered. It's possible to agonise over every decision, but much of the game is out of your control and long-term planning is difficult without experience. There you go, quick and easy GMT game. We can but hope. All right, cool. Let's have a look then at some of the cards. Starting with those event cards. We have nice, typical GMT cards. If you've ever played any game with a GMT produced, they almost always have cards like this. Fairly glossy, nice, easy to read text with a title and then some imagery there. This one says blown transmission and various imagery along the top gives details about the effects on the game. Most of them seem to have some kind of negative effect, it looks like. Spin out, debris, damage, blown tyres, more debris, weather, damage, fuel miscalculations, more weather. Yeah, these look like a negative effect on the game, but they're pretty solid, nice and easy to read, as I said, and should stand up to some shuffling that you're inevitably going to do. So these would seemingly impact the game. Presumably you draw them at certain points in the game. Finally, this massive deck here of, I think it's about 84, 85 cards. It's huge. These are the cards that you'll be playing during the game to determine the movement. So we have draft movement, teamwork, riding the draft, clean air, working the pack, all with different types of movement on them. I think this series of symbols down here is something to do with turn order, and this is what you'll play. You'll have a hand of cards and you'll play them during the game to move your cars. Okay, awesome. Let's have a quick look then at those tracks. 4 race tracks across 2 double-sided mounted boards. Each board has event card spaces, race card space, and aid memoirs in the terms of certain reminders of the play, speed penalties, and forward and lateral movements and linked movements. Those errata that I mentioned before show that the linked movement, has a couple of things on around. So that would impact this column on this table, and that's across all 4 boards. Now we have Pullender's pyramid here on the screen, and as you can imagine, if you put these things on the track, just a handful of them, you would obviously have up to, I think, in a 2-player game, you'd probably have, I think it's something like 12 or 14. In a 7-player game, you'd reduce that down, but you still have like best part of 20 of these cards on the board, and you'd move them around using those cards. The board is just lovely. I have to say the board is lovely. GMT rarely fail to do boards justice when they have these big mounted boards. They're really neat, and it's nice to see a GMT board that isn't a map of a battlefield as well, just every once in a while. Okay, on the other side then, let's have a look. We have Pullender's pyramid on this side, as I said. Now these boards are pretty big, so let me struggle to flip this over without damaging it. On the other side we have a circuit here, Vern's Grove in Columbus, Ohio, much more, almost a Formula One if you know that in the European version of stock car racing. The Grand Prix type circuits, a few more squiggles, shall we say, than you would have in perhaps a typical sort of oval shape stock car racing in America, or at least my impression of that anyway. There's a number of different sections here that are slightly different, specific to this track, it would seem. So that's Vern's Grove in Ohio. Underneath we have the St. Adriana Speedway, which is in Tenerife, Spain, so actually the Canary Islands. Again, this is more oval, but we do have a few different things going on there, spaces for the different cars and everything. 2 laps on this one. The lap counters are, or the lap length, I think the race length in terms of laps is printed on each board, and we would still have to make sure we remember the errata on the board on both sides. The final one, if I can turn it over one more time, is the, what is it? It's the Junta Brothers Velodrome, and this is what I have in my mind when I think of stock car racing in the States. It's an oval track and you go around a few hundred times, but here it would only be 4 laps in terms of the game. Okay, that then is Thunder Rally, a stock car racing game. It looks like a hand management focused stock car racing game from GMT. Fantastic components. Hopefully it's a fantastic game as well. I've never played it, but I'm really keen to get started. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please click like, subscribe, all that kind of thing, and hopefully see you next time.